Hey guys, it's Madison, and the first month of 2022 has officially come to an end. Throughout a lot of January, I don't know, whenever I would think about how much learning I had done so far in the month, I just felt kind of bummed about it. I felt like I wasn't achieving any of my goals. I felt like I was just losing all of the good habits I had built up. It just didn't feel good. At the end of last year, I was getting a lot of language learning things done. I felt like I was really in a groove. I was really conquering the goals that I wanted to achieve. I was getting into Japanese TV finally. I was studying a little bit of Japanese and Chinese every single day, so I felt like I could feel my progress actually growing day by day. And then as January hit, and I mentioned this in my last video as well, it's just I got sick, and then it kind of took a while to get over that initial sickness. And then after that, I was just totally I had lost all my good habits, and then I just could not ever find the motivation to jump back into those habits. So it felt like I was constantly not achieving things, and it's really hard to get back in the groove after you're in one of those kind of slumps where you just cannot muster up the motivation to get the things that you know you want to get done actually done. So as I was preparing for this video, I actually kind of took a look back at what I did accomplish this month, and it was actually really surprising because it felt like I was not doing anything for most of the month until at the very end I finally started to kind of do a few things here and there. But when I look back, the number of hours that I've spent on stuff isn't that bad. So as far as active studying related stuff goes, I ended up getting a total of almost 13 and a half hours, which sounds like a lot of hours until you realize that as you spread it throughout a whole month, it's not that much time. And that was made up of Duolingo, which I did manage to keep going. That's a nice thing about a really simple, easy app like Duolingo is that even if you're sick or busy, it's really easy to open it for 5 or whatever minutes and get something done. And then near the end of the month as well, I did get a couple of my habits sort of back. I didn't do them every day or anything like that, but I did kind of do them more often. And those things were Satori Reader, the reading Japanese app, and then my Korean novel that I finally finished. That was one goal that I did achieve and I feel really good about, is that this book, which I started reading last year, I think in June. Isn't that pathetic? I started reading it in June and I just now finished it in January. Yes, finally, that's one thing I am very happy about. A couple of things that notably I did not do. Number one, I only saw my Korean friends one time, and it was pretty briefly, but I did chat with them in Korean at that time. Other than that, I didn't get any Korean speaking done, really. My Chinese has kind of fallen off. I did watch a ton of Chinese dramas, which I'll get to in a second, when I was sick, but as far as continuing my streak of reading Chinese articles, which I've been doing every day pretty consistently and really felt my reading comprehension going up, I totally didn't do any of that at all during January. Makes me sad to think of how many free articles were posted and then turned to premium as I missed that entire month. Hopefully I can get back into that in February. So yeah, basically the active study time was just Duolingo, Satori Reader, and that novel. And except for Duolingo again, most of that all came in the last week and a half of the month. So it really, it just was different than what I was kind of hoping and expecting as I came into the new year. But yeah, as far as the kind of passive listening stuff goes, like I said, I watched a ton of dramas, almost all Chinese dramas, while I was sick and just not motivated to do any active study. And throughout the month, honestly, it was basically almost all, over 80% of this time is in the first 2 weeks as I was sick and then kind of still recovering from sickness. But total, it was 52 and a half hours. So that's a lot of time, but yeah, I'm not gonna even be negative about that. That is good. That definitely is helping my Chinese comprehension. It also helped distract me while I was sick. So, you know what, I'm happy about that. I just do wish that some of those hours were in Japanese TV. I finally found shows that were interesting to me and that I could see myself watching. And then as I got sick, I was like, forget this, I'm going back to the tried and true, very predictable Chinese drama stuff. So that's another thing I want to get back into in February is intermingle more Japanese TV. I can do it, I know it. I finally found things that I like, so I know I have the content there. I just need to get back into it. And then kind of in the middle, I didn't really include this in that time, but in the middle of active and passive is the Korean podcast that I listen to. It's pretty high level crime stuff, and I listen to it in the car, and I generally try to pay attention as much as possible. So it's not really passive, I would say. I'm really focused on it. I guess you could still consider it passive, but And that was, I only got to listen to 2. So that's around 70 minutes, just over an hour. But yeah. I also did absolutely terribly at like keeping a daily track of what I was doing throughout the month. Most of this information that I mentioned here, I actually went back through like my browser history, and I went back and looked at my screen time on my phone. I think it was actually a really good exercise for me to go back and actually like see what I did do this month, despite the fact that I did not record it in my notebook like I had hoped, because that is motivating for me, is that I feel a little bit less bad about the past month. Even though kind of the whole month going through it, I was like, man, I am just so not doing what I had hoped to do. Looking back, it's like, wow, you know what? I actually did do quite a bit. Like, did I leave behind several of my goals? Yeah, but I did still do stuff, and you know what? That's okay. Everyone has their months where they're not totally on their best form, and that's okay. Getting into February though, I am hoping that I can be a little more consistent, because again, that's one of my big goals this year, is be a little bit more consistent than usual. And then of course I started off the year very inconsistent, even more than my normal self. So I'm hoping that I can kind of get back, you know, kind of take a fresh look at what I was hoping to do and really start implementing those goals this month. And you know, the good thing about starting the year out with kind of a low month where I feel like I didn't accomplish things is that it can only get better from here, right? So I'm hoping that when February is over, I can go back and look through the month, hopefully, which I'll have kept better track of, and be even more proud and even more happy to see the progress that I've made since this point. But yeah, that was my January 2022 in review. Did I accomplish all the things that I had hoped to accomplish by the end of the month? No, definitely not. But did I accomplish some? Yes, I did. And looking back, you know what? It wasn't quite as terrible as it felt the entire month. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep trying to improve my consistency overall, get back in that habit of writing things down, and you know, hopefully it'll be a good month at the end of the month, but we'll see. But even if it's not, it's gonna be okay. But yeah, that was my January in review. That's all I had to say for today, and until next time, annyeong.